Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Marvellous Monday. Hope you're well, folks, wherever you are. If you think it's Get Rich Quick, you're in the wrong place. This is the wrong podcast. This is the wrong live for you. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Hope you're all awesome and well. Hey, good morning, folks. Welcome along. Good to see you. Got a few of the early birds in the house. Hey, good morning, Alex. How are you today? Got a couple of the Facebook users behind the veil. Whoever you are, morning to you. Good to see you. Welcome, folks. Great to have you here. Oh, a little sneezy. Hey, good morning, Tim. Good to see you. While things are warming up, folks, do the intros as we always do. Welcome to a wonderful Wednesday. Chris is in the house as well. How are you, Chris? Good to see you, mate. Good to have you on this morning. You guys know the drill, Jason with my name. But if you didn't already know, there you go. Now you do. If you're new, say hello. Let us know. We've had a few newbies in the past couple of weeks, which is awesome. You might be new to our coaching and mentoring program. So that's great. If you are, say hello in the chat below and get involved in this morning's catch-up. What do? We get together about 10 past 8 each weekday and we talk about property investing. Around here, we have a few sayings. We've got a few sayings. Buy well, don't sell. The idea is buy good property and keep it for as long as you need to for it to work, for it to do its thing. I'm not a big fan of buying and selling stuff as a wealth creation strategy. Sometimes you might need to sell strategically, but for the most part, folks, it's buy something that you would be happy to own for 20 to 30 years. If you don't know if that's the type of property that you want to own, then you should get some support and help and understanding and some knowledge before you do, because it's pretty important to go the distance, folks. That's the drill. And, you know, this thing's a marathon, not a sprint. It takes time. If you've popped along to find out about Get Rich Quick tips, well, this is not the place. This is not the place. I don't have any. I'm not that interested, to be honest. And if you do have some, go somewhere else and share them. Anyway, that might sound a bit harsh, but hey, listen, been property investing 21 years myself, helping thousands and thousands, well over 10,000 actually, across Australia and New Zealand property investors get their mojo on to go the distance. Morning, Cole. And along the way, I've seen a few things, folks. Seen a few things. Hey, good morning, Jason. Good name you've got there. I like it. Thanks for joining, mate. Fantastic to have you here. Make sure you subscribe or get the notifications or whatever. We do it each morning. It's about 10 past 8. And there's usually a few little tidbits as we go along. So fantastic to have you here, mate. Welcome along. Awesome. Well, let's get into it this morning, folks. Hey, morning, Alison. Hope the Northern Territory is treating you well. Let's get into it this morning. So talking about what drives growth, right? Most of you would know, if you've been around a little while, Sam has what's called the 4X growth plan. The drivers of growth, not only capital growth, but rental growth. But today we're going to talk about the 4 drivers of capital growth. When we purchase properties, we buy the real estate. We want a couple of things to happen, right? We want the income to be able to go up over time, cover the cost of the property, eventually maybe reduce the debt, and then have a positive cash flow left over to put some in our pocket so we can draw some passive income. Fantastic. That's a slow burn often, $1 at a time. However, capital growth can happen a lot quicker in metric volume. I don't know if that's even the right description, but in paper dollars, your values can rise a lot quicker. 50, 80, 100, $200,000 in value rise a lot quicker than your cash flow can, which is always nice, which is always fantastic. Morning, Stephen. How are you, mate? Fritz is in the house. Fritz, how are you, mate? It's always great to have your properties grow in value. Makes you feel good. It's a little bit warm and fuzzy, but really at the end of the day, you guys know the drill. Capital growth in the early days is for creating more deposits for the next properties. And I did a bit of a live on that one the other day. So make sure you go back and check it. So let's have a look at what are the 4 drivers. If you guys know, put it in the chat for me. Morning, Brad. What are the 4 drivers that, and you might have Sam's stuff hanging around, or you might remember it. What are the 4 stages, 4 styles of energy in the market that drive capital growth, property value, folks? And Sam's sort of crunched them. Anyone know what they are? Chuck them in the chat. This first driver, you can drive sort of 10 to 20% if you get that one right. The second driver adds sort of 20 to 30% in the kind of overall scheme of things. The third driver, it's the big driver. It's the big kahuna. 70% or more of the property's value into the future. And what we call the overdrivers, the things that drive it more than you would expect, folks, over and above. So Cole's got one there in there, which is great, which is location. Location for sure. The location of your property is important. We all know this. What do they say? Location, location, location. It's kind of true. Not necessarily exactly, but it certainly is part of the puzzle, folks, as we go along. The first part, we got market, the overall market, the big mover, folks, the big mover. Listen, if you think you're going to do anything significant to a piece of real estate as a buy and hold investor, if you have significant amounts of money to add value, then that's not what I'm talking about. This is buy and hold property investing for the medium to long-term future. The deal itself, folks, the deal. When I do a deal, what can I do at the beginning with that deal for it to pop, for equity to grow fast as possible? Deal, location, market. And this is what Sam calls behavior, the behavior drivers, okay? And Brad, that behavior or gentrification would be in that market behavior stuff. Yeah, as we go. Got some funnies in the chat. All right, so what can you do to the deal? What about the location? What about the market? What the behavior? Now, Sam has done plenty of podcasts on this, folks. So if you want to go and have a look at a bit of a deep dive, a drill into this information a little bit further in detail, then make sure you track down his podcast. But let's go through these things. We purchase a property. How can we make the deal pop, folks? How can we make a good decision in the beginning? So put it in the chat if you think you know what might be able to happen or what you can do. What can you do with the deal as you go along? Now, there's an easy way to make some money in the world of property and property investing. And I've done this one plenty of times. You can buy a property at a market discount. If you purchase something 10% undervalued, then you can immediately create some equity. Now, whether the banks and the valuers recognize that equity in the beginning, it usually takes a year or two. But that's exactly what happens. Let's say for an example right now, folks, if you've popped along to mentoring, Sam presented a deal, you guys know, just recently that is between 15 and 25% under market value right now, and he showed you the per square meter rate and the construction costs of other buildings around it. And this property, you can purchase 20% under market value. So if you buy it, let's say for, let's say 700,000, or you know, whatever it is, if you buy it for $1 million, let's just use that for a round number so I can get it right. If you buy it for $1 million today, its market value today is 1.2. All right. Easiest way to do it: buy properties at a discount, and you can gain the reward. Okay. Number two, so add value. All right. So what do we mean by add value? Yeah, boom, Tim's on it. Perfect. Good work, Tim. Add value. You can renovate. You could subdivide a piece of land. You could knock down, rebuild. This is the add value world of a secondhand piece of real estate. A secondhand piece of real estate, and you do something to it, folks. All right, which is fantastic. I like the idea of adding value into the future. For me, I prefer to buy brand new to begin with, and then I add value later on with other stuff. But you know, you can do it at the beginning, right? As we go, right? So here's the drill, right? So how else can you do it? Like what can you do? You can use time. You can use time to grow a deal. What do I mean by that? You know, we've got many of our clients, truckloads. I'll just use an example of one of mine. You can buy a property in a great location, in a great market with heaps of behavior, with built-in future, but you can buy time. I bought a great property off the plan, actually a great property off the plan, and it's gone up close to $500,000 using time, over time, all right, which is fantastic. The other one that I did, I built a house, and again, you know, has gone up $400,000 over the time that it took me to build the property. All right. You can use time in the beginning, in the early stages, to build and push. Yep, exactly, Tim. You can use off the plan if the deal in the market's you know, gonna work that way for sure. So time, and then Brad put it in there before. You can do things like JVs and develop and whatever. Now Sam's drilled into these things in much more detail, but if you want to sort of know a bit more about that, go and check out what Sam has listed out in his podcast. All right, but you can do a deal at the beginning, and this is usually in the first sort of 12 to 36 months, folks, of a deal of building your property portfolio. Okay, building your property portfolio when it comes to this sort of stuff. Okay. Yep, exactly, Steve. You know, what do they say? You make your money when you buy, and that's kind of true in certain circumstances when it comes to, you know, if you don't buy a deal, you won't end up making any money. So, you know, let's get on with it. Stephen's right. You know, snooze, you lose. Get on with it. Let's do a deal. So the location, what sort of location are we talking about? In different cities, if in different states, there are things that are going on, right? And Sam's got a few of them, right? So he says there's an emerging market, competition markets, which is like low supply. You've got I'm trying to see it here, aspirational markets. So these different markets inside of different locations or different cities drive things as well. The NIMBY market, right? NIMBY in here. So emerging market. What's an emerging market mean? An emerging market means on the edges of cities, there's a new area growing. Let's give you an example of an emerging market in Brisbane. So Springfield, brand new city being built on the edge of Brisbane. That's an emerging market, right? So that market started at, you know, houses for 400, and now you're seeing houses in there in the $1.5–2 million. All right, emerging market, completely away from an existing market, and has grown. A competitive market. If you go to places let's say within 20 kilometers of the CBD of Brisbane. 20 kilometers of the CBD of Brisbane, try and buy a house. Holy dooly, like it's extremely competitive, right? So there's lots of buyers, not too many sellers. You know, that area is accelerating. Okay, an aspirational market. What's an aspirational market? Well, you know, just outside that 20K or the 30K zone are markets where it's the next step up for, you know, the demographic. Okay, so it's not the bottom of the affordability, it's the next step up, the next aspiration for that demographic. And these aspirational markets happen on the edges of or surrounding already quite established markets. You can see, you know, someone aspiring to be able to live in Newstead, but, you know, they'll build, they'll buy on the edge of Newstead because they can't afford it, right? Some things like that. And NIMBY, not in my backyard. Again, this is kind of like, you know, with that competition market. NIMBY's more and around the market has very little development in there, very little new. And Sam loves this all the time. Sam finds, you know, this is the only development that's been done in this NIMBY market for the last 11 years, right? And like, let's get on this one. It's the only one here, right? So those things. So those locations are going to drive as well, right? So you do a deal, you get the location right, and we're going to drive, you know, drive value, drive wealth as we go along, all right? So, let's have a look at the market. What's the market doing? You know, you guys have seen this before, the pie, you know, population, infrastructure, and employment, all right? Okay. Are these places economically viable for a long-term future? Where are you putting your money? Is the population growing? Is there plenty of investment from the government and the state and the government? And are there lots of jobs? Because if people don't get jobs and they don't get pay rises, they can't pay you more money for your property, right? So that's a big drivers in that sort of stuff as you go, all right? And, you know, one of the other market factors is timing and time in, folks. So timing and time in the market, all right? If you have a look at this sort of stuff, you know, you're going, you know, 36 months to, I don't know, I'm going to use years now, 3 years to 7 years in location, and then, you know, 7 years to, you know, 15 years, you know, market will drive it. And, you know, the last but not least, the driver, which, you know, for a lot of us, we want to make sure we're in line to receive growth from this. This is about behaviors, all right? About behaviors. This is about, you know, locations that, you know, are near the water, and I get to, Sam calls it like, you know, third space. You know, if I can live in a house and I can walk to the beach and I can walk to a cafe and a restaurant and I can walk to public transport, that behavior, that human behavior, that need for that stuff is going to, you know, going to accelerate stuff, right? So, you know, what are those things for you, for me, for your future? Is there behavioral things that that are going to drive an over interest in your property, you know, which is the combination of kind of these two plus some special stuff, the property itself, its design, it's, you know, it's 3 bed with 2 garage instead of 3 bed with 1 garage, those sorts of things, right? So, and there's plenty more. There's plenty more in this, folks. So I encourage you to go find Sam's podcast on the Forex growth strategy. He does like an hour and 10, hour and 20 on it. All right. So he dives deep into it, which is awesome. All right. Everyone, yeah, Aussies love the water. Exactly, Luke. Yeah, we're absolutely obsessed with the water. Yeah, and 23K now is, you know, that's close to Brizzy these days, Alison. All good. All right, folks. Yeah, proximity. McDonald's. You know, it's not such a funny idea. You know, like if you're close to the shops, like, you know, how far is it to the takeaway shops and a regular supermarket, right? It's so true, David. It's so true. Especially for rental too, folks. Especially for rentals. All right, that's it from me today, ladies and gents. Done and dusted. Join me tomorrow for another Wealth Coffee chat if you're up for it. We do it about 8:10. Appreciate you all joining. Fantastic to have you here. Done and dusted for today. Remember, buy well, don't sell. This thing's a marathon, not a sprint. That's what we talk about around here. Good to have you here, folks. Thanks for joining. That's it from me. Adios. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.